establishing Center for Excellence for Mechanization to support and drive agricultural mechanization in the continent. So long-term vision is very important. Then the last element is referring to creating sustainable institutions for regional cooperation and networking. I think we all agree that the level of our cooperation and networking still needs to be improved. We need to see regions in West Africa cooperating, collaborating with colleagues in East Africa, institutions in West Africa collaborating with Central Africa. We need to exchange ideas, learn from each other. So regional collaboration is important, and we need to do that while also strengthening the regional capacity. And we need not to forget South-South collaboration as well when it comes to exchange of technologies and knowledge and which will help to enhance mechanization in the continent. Going forward, I have 4 points there. We need to ensure that SAMA features well in the implementation of major initiatives in Africa at national, regional level, and even at company level and individual level as well. We need to continue to implement activities. We'll hear 2 activities today from the presentations that will be made very soon, and we invite others as well to implement activities that will be supporting FSAMA in the continent. Networking, collaboration, cooperation, sharing of information and experience is important. And this could be in issues such as standards for equipment, but also in issues like capacity development, as I mentioned earlier. We need to have an institutional framework for networking and collaboration in implementation of FSAMA. In the last webinar, for example, we said, the directors of agricultural mechanizations and head of agricultural mechanization from different regions could form their own network to share information, to share what is happening in one region. I think sharing of experience is very, very important as we move forward. So I will stop there. Thank you so much. I would like to share with you the link to the English version of the SAMA framework is shown there, but you can also get it from the website www.africamechanized.org, where we have uploaded all the documents for this meeting. So once again, thank you so much for your attention, and I'm open for questions, suggestions, and so forth. Thank you so much. Back to you, Mark.
Thank you very much, Joseph, for that succinct overview of what it is that we have in the framework for sustainable agricultural mechanization in Africa. So you're giving us the 10 elements. So, I mean, ladies and gentlemen, when you leave this webinar, at least one of the things that we should go away with will be those 10 elements, which have been structured into 3 main blocks: the commercial viability or the commercialization of agricultural mechanization, but also looking at the socioeconomic aspects, how it addresses the needs of small-scale farmers, of women, of youth, and so on. And then we are not leaving behind the environmental considerations as well. So that is how those 10 elements have been structured. And I think that is what will guide us as individuals, as countries, as companies, as farmer organizations, as we seek to promote agricultural mechanization on the continent. Thank you very much. So at this point, it is open now. We can take some comments and questions from you based on what Professor Mrema and what Joseph has just presented to us. So your questions and comments are welcome. Please indicate by raising your hands. You can use the raising hands feature when you click on participants, and then I will call you to make your inputs. Do we have any comment or question? Yes, I see Seife Ayele, please. Please proceed.
Thank you, Mark. I thank both Professor Mrema and Joseph for their excellent presentations. Either of you could answer my question. As we know, Sub-Saharan Africa farm energy level is very low. Our farmers suffer from energy poverty. To address this challenge, as you both noted, Africa Union pledged to banish hand-hoe by 2025. My question is this a too ambitious pledge target? How realistic is the pledge? And what concrete steps have been taken thus far to realize the pledge? I'll stop here. In fact, I'll be very happy to engage with the conversation later on.
Thank you very much, Seife, for that question. And let me go to Abdullahi Abubakar, please.
Thank you very much, Mark. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. I have listened to the presentation with very rapt attention, and I've picked out of the 10 points he has mentioned. I just want to comment on 3, which I feel they are really of importance to progress mechanization in Africa. One of them is the capacity building, which is very paramount. I agree we have repository of knowledge in Africa. We have those who can spearhead it, and we have also where we can actually practice it. But for us to progress, we have to be in tandem with the world over. There are other equipments that we don't actually use them in Africa, but not that we don't have their need, but because of the technology involved, which I believe we can access that technology and make good use of it to the benefit of our farmers in
I'll
Africa.
hit here. Yes. If I'm not here.
Please go ahead.
Mr. Abdallah, please unmute yourself. You are muted.
Hello?
Yes, hello.
We can hear you now, Mr. Abdallah.
Mr. Abdullah, we lost you briefly. Please conclude your comments. All right, I think we cannot hear him, but I think I got a gist of what he was saying. Essentially, he mentioned the need for capacity building, and also he talked about the certain equipments which we are not using because we do not have the necessary skills associated with that to use it, if I got him correctly. And so I'm sure that our presenters caught what he said, and will provide appropriate response. Let me take the third person here, and then we will go to Prof. and Joseph for some reactions to those comments and questions. So I have someone with the name AAM. Your hand is up, please. Tell us your name and where you're from, and ask your question or make your comment, please.
Mahama Aliu. Am I being heard? I am Mahama Aliu.
Yes, please, we can hear you.
Okay. My remarks goes to Prof. I realize that he presented data which is far below the level that we want to. We want to see data that is current regarding some of the tractor and whatever, what the numbers they had around 205, and some of them 2000. These are all data that is not very reliable at this stage. And also to his emphasis on power sources was a bit problematic. And his definition for agricultural mechanization is outdated, because referring to 1981, a lot has gone in. And if you look at his presentation, I can see that he updated all the definition by explanation, because he considered environment, he considered socioeconomics, he considered so many other things that relate to modern definition of mechanization, which normally we, those who are specialists in mechanization, we define mechanization as the use of tools or machines to aid human labor in agricultural production economically and environmentally friendly. This has all the ingredients he presented later, but the definition was so limited to machinery without those factors of environment and economics. And environment and economics brings about what we can call sustainability. And so these are my few remarks on Prof's presentation.
Okay.
I would like to have his reaction.
Right, thank you very much. Prof and Joseph, we have three sort of comments and also questions for you. So I think the first one was talking about the AU commitment of banishing the handheld hoe to the museum by 2025. And he wants to find out, he's asking whether this is not too ambitious and what the concrete steps which have been taken to ensure that this is realized. And the second one from Abdullah was on the parts that I caught were about the issue of the need for capacity building, essentially to promote agricultural mechanization. And the third comment is, it relates to the definition of agricultural mechanization. So please, over to you.
Okay, thank you so much. Okay, all right. You can.
I can start with the first question of being too ambitious for Mr. Yele. I don't think we are really being too ambitious. I think if you look at the data, in 1960, Africa had more tractors in use and other machinery in use than Asia had. But we vacillated, we kept on, everybody coming in, sometimes say we go move to Operationalization, sometimes say move to small tractors, sometimes say more appropriate technology, and now we stagnated. Asia focused their attention on particular farm power, and they have now moved forward. And as you can see, land preparation in Asia is almost 80% done by machinery. And I think even in Africa, within particular countries, you see that there are areas where land preparation is moving beyond the averages. Like here in Tanzania, for example, there are districts where we are getting now 60 to 70% of the land is being prepared by means of tractors. So it's not over ambitious. It's quite within our capacity. But I think the only thing is we have to remain focused. We have to plan properly and avoid this vacillation, moving from one paradigm to another. Focus, agree that we are going to increase farm power from this level to this level, and I think we'll achieve. Asia has done it, Latin America has done it. I don't see why Africa cannot do it. And I think we have quite, for example, Bangladesh was a basket case in 1980, but they focused and they managed. Now they are now talking of almost 100% of the land preparation. Even the animals are not going to be there. India is going to remove only draft animals from their power spectrum. So I think we are in Africa, we can really do that if we focus our attention, and that's what the framework is doing. The second point, I'll answer the Professor Liu. My presentation was not really aimed at giving the framework. Mine was just to introduce why mechanization is important. I think the 10 elements which Joseph Mbagalile gave, Those are the ones should focus on in terms of the summer framework. As to the sources of why the data is too old, that's a reality of Africa. I think since 2005, we stopped collecting data on mechanization, on tractor numbers and inputs. I think it's very difficult to get that now. FAO used to do that, but the division, they have stopped collecting that data. I'm told they are now beginning to have another program to collect data on machinery use and so forth. Maybe the data will improve, but the reality is this is the data which we have, and we can only prepare a document based on the data we have. And I think I'll pass on to Joseph to answer the questions from Abdullah and other questions from Professor Ali. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you, Prof. Joseph, please.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Yeah, thank you so much, Prof, and thank you so much, colleagues, for the questions. I will quickly go to the first question that was asked about banishing the hall to the museum. I think, as Prof said, this is not something which is unrealistic. I think it's something that could be achieved, and I think the main issue there is that banishing the hall to the museum is the main means of agricultural production or transformation in Africa. The message is we cannot depend on hand hoe if we really want to transform agriculture in the continent. So I think it's something that, if we all work together and we join hands and we have strategy and plans on the ground and we implement them and follow them, I think it's something that, as Prof said, could be achieved. If it is been achieved in other continents, I think is something that we could, if we all are focused and we all working hardly and strongly towards achieving that goal. What has been done? I was in Bobodi Lasso in 2019 when the symbolic launching of the Handho Museum was done by Africa Union. And the message there was really to send a very clear message to governments that this campaign that was launched, that started being discussed in 2015, is not something that we're just discussing it will pass. It's something that we really, or Africa Union is really serious or to seeing that is being realized. So it was a clear call to governments to really start seriously to work towards making sure that mechanization is promoted as as an important pillar for transformation of agricultural production. What has been done so far? I'll talk, for example, on part of what FAO is done. When it comes to governments, there are some governments in the continent which, up to as we speak, they had no mechanization policy or strategy. So FAO, we are working hard towards that, making sure that the governments are putting in place policies and strategies which will become roadmaps for achieving all these campaigns and other things that we are saying. So I think it's very important. We have been talking about the public sector putting conducive environments for the private sector to invest and private sector to support, development of mechanization in the continent. So far as the sub-regional coordinator for West Africa said, we are working, for example, in Sierra Leone, we are working in Mali, we've just finished working, supporting Ghana, Zambia is coming, Tanzania will be supported. So, and we invite more countries to join this particular effort. So I'm sure, if all this is done and is implemented, it's not just a matter of developing a policy, but making sure that there are action plans to implement it. I'm sure it will be done. FAO is also working towards the mechanization hire services. As we know, our situations is not possible for each and every farmer to own a power tiller or a mechanized equipment that could help in transformation. But we need also to support mechanization hire service providers, especially for small scale farmers, smallholder farmers. So we have been working towards that, and we have teaming up with African ACT, African Conservation Tillage Network. We have already conducted trainings in Uganda, in Kenya, in Ivory Coast, in Senegal, in Burkina, and our wish is to expand to other countries as well. And let me say that we are open to other partners to join hands with us in our effort to make sure that we enhance access of access of farmers to agricultural mechanization at small scale level, at medium scale level, and so forth. And I think if we all join hands, we would be able to achieve quite a lot and reach the goals. Regarding the capacity building, I think what I can say, I agree with Abdullah, is very, very important. I agree with him. There are so many technologies out there which could be useful in the continent, but again, capacity building, making sure that they're used properly, and making sure that they're introduced where they're needed. It's not just introducing and leaving it as a white elephant, but where they're going to be really used, I think is important. So I agree with that. Hinting a little bit on what Dr. Mahama said regarding the data, what I could say there is that we agree that, as Prof. Mrema said, sometimes it's difficult to get up-to-date data, but our mechanization team in FAO, we are now in discussions with our colleagues from the statistics team to make sure that some work is done to update and the data of mechanization, tractors and other things in the continent. So it's something that we agree it needs to be worked, and we have started working towards that. I'll stop there, Mark.
Right. Thank you very much, Prof. and Joseph, for those responses. I think they address the questions which were asked. There were, I've also seen a number of comments and questions in the chat, and I'm sure that Prof. and Joseph, you also look at them and provide responses in the chat as well. There are issues which have been raised, which relate to, again, the capacity of the end users of these equipments, what we are doing to build that capacity, the operational capacity. There are questions about the financial support that is needed so that people can either own the appropriate equipment or access the services that are derived from these equipments. So those are some of the points which have come up. Martha, I saw your hand, but I will have to move on. I'm sure there will be an opportunity for you to come back and ask your question. Meanwhile, please also make use of the chat and put your input there. And at this point, let me proceed to the next presentation. And here it is on how the private sector is promoting agricultural mechanization in sub-Saharan Africa. And we have Stewart Perney, who is the CEO of Aglis Co, based in Zambia. Please, you have the floor.
Thank you very much. It's nice to be here. I can't see my presentation, and I'm getting a bit old for this IT stuff, so if somebody can help me throw up my presentation, that would be quite nice.
Okay.
In the meantime...
Can you project Stewart's presentation?
I don't have his.
Okay. Wait. Priscilla, I'll project it. Okay.
See, I'm not the only one that has problems with technology.
Stuart, I'll project it. Don't worry. Just okay. 1 second.
That's okay. I can probably start just to fill in the blanks then. So thank you for the introduction, Mark. Yeah, my name's Stuart Perney. I am the CEO of a little leasing company called Aglisco, which operates in Zambia. And it's a very simple business, and this is what the presentation is about, just to let you see how simple it is. And it was when we looked at Zambia, here we go, coming up. When we looked at Zambia a few years ago, we realized that there'd been a lot of efforts put into mechanization programs, and all of them, without exception, had crashed and burned for various reasons. But it didn't stop a certain group of people trying again to create a mechanization solution for Zambia. When I say a mechanization solution for Zambia, I mean specifically for the small scale and developing farmers, which is our customer base. So the bigger commercial farmers in Zambia have got access to mechanization, but it's the small scale farmers that really were struggling to mechanize their farms. Where are we?
Okay.
Is it me that's doing this or somebody else?
It's me. You want me to go down?
Is it this one? I don't know.
We can't see the presentation. We only see that you have opened some files.
Yeah.
Ah, okay. All right. Sorry.
Oh, I really am feeling much better now.
Okay. Don't know why. Okay. Oh.
$106 people are sitting there quietly going, I hope it's worth the wait.
Okay.
There we go.
Can you see it now?
Yes, we can see it. Thank you.
Okay. All right.
For that?
For serious, you don't know. You don't know that it's a medicine.
Okay, Stuart, can you see it?
I can, yeah, but I can't do much with it. It's
No,
not.
I'll move it for you. I'll move slides for you.
Yeah, but it's not on the full slide.
Kama wakiupload unaweza kuambia nani atutengenezea.
I can move slides, Stuart, for you.
Mr. Stewart, I think you are muted.
It's not on the full screen.
Yeah, because I have a PDF file, so I can't do a full screen.
I sent you the whole presentation.
But I think, Joseph, maybe if we go to the next slide, we will see whether we can do with, okay.
Yeah.
I think we can still see it. So Stuart, please proceed.
Okay, I talk over the slides anyway. Okay, so the name of the company is AgLeaseCo, which is our sort of everyday name, but we do have a Sunday name, which is Agricultural Leasing Company Zambia Limited, which I think tells everybody about the type of company and who we are, that we provide leasing in the agricultural sector and we operate in Zambia. Our two shareholders are KfW. KfW is a German development bank, and it received funding from a German ministry called BMZ, which is the Federal Ministry for Economic Cooperation and Development. I had to check that. And they received some money, and the money was given to KfW to increase mechanization levels of small-scale farmers. And KfW people on the ground really were not quite sure what to do with the money, to how to use the money. So through various means, we ended up speaking to each other. My background is I've been in the leasing sector for about 40 years, most of it in the agricultural sector. And we said that small-scale farmers in Zambia, as in all countries in Africa, cannot afford to purchase equipment. And therefore, they need to spread the cost of the acquisition over a period of time, which means that they need some finance. But the financial institutions in Africa don't really like the agricultural sector, and specifically they don't like the small-scale farmers because there's no collateral, because there's no good credit references associated with them. So we're stuck in a catch-22. So we decided to get rid of that catch-22, and we decided to set up our own leasing company, our finance leasing company in Zambia. Can I have the next slide, please? So as I said, we are a simple organization. And that's what the objective is. I think every organization needs objective strategies and tactics. And our critical objective is one thing, and that's to increase the level of food security in Zambia. With COVID-19, the government very quickly discovered just how much imports of food were coming into the country, and that was being disrupted. So they've realized just how important food security is. I think all over the world, governments realize just how important the agricultural sector is to the economy and just how many votes are associated with it, if I can be slightly cynical. So Zambian government is no different from most other governments, and that is they wanted to promote the agricultural sector. Can we have the next slide? The next slide is really the strategy, which is to increase the levels of mechanization of small-scale and developing farmers. I think some of the other speakers have said that you know, there's too much human power and there's too much draft power being used in Africa, and it's not effective. And I think if you speak to anybody around the world that understands the agricultural sector, then undoubtedly they will tell you that mechanization increased the productivity of the land that's available. Next slide, please. The next slide really is a simple one. It's a tactic. And this is what we did. We decided that we were going to offer finance leases to credit-worthy farmers. I think one of the reasons that mechanization programs have failed in the past, especially in Africa, is that farmers have been given tractors. And that's where it's kind of stopped. So they've been told, yippee, here's a tractor. And most of those tractors today sit in fields or farmyards across Africa, and they're not used because they're broken. Nobody gave anybody any training. I know that was a big issue for somebody earlier on, was training. And they don't know how to use them. And apart from anything else, a tractor does nothing. A tractor is just a vehicle that moves from A to B. It doesn't actually do anything on its own. It's the equipment on the back of the tractor that does all the work, the implements. So giving farmers tractors really doesn't do anything. And that's why most of the mechanization programs have failed, and all of the mechanization programs in Zambia had failed. Next slide, please. Well, very briefly, this was the discussions really with KFW were back in sort of 2017. And at the very end of that year, we created a company, and I mean at this time. So it was December, I think it was December the 31st in 2017, we created a company. So we created a company that was registered in Zambia, but that was all we had, it was just a company. So to be a leasing company, you need to have a license, which is called a non-banking financial institution license. And that's given to you after a long application process by the supervisor, which in Zambia is the Bank of Zambia. And it took us a long time to pull together all the information that was required by the Bank of Zambia. And I don't have a problem with that, because I think financial institutions are important institutions and they should be regulated and they should be supervised. But then after we produced all the information and made our application, it then took months for that application to be even considered. So we lost the season. We lost the season, which was in 2018. But we did eventually get our license at the end, near the end of 2018, and we started working with some of the local equipment suppliers. One of my rules was that any equipment that we were going to finance had to be supplied locally. It had to be supplied locally because the critical thing about buying equipment is that there must be a after-sales parts and service facility. That we can't just finance equipment that's parachuted into Zambia. That's not what happens. Equipment does break down and equipment does need spare parts. So we only cooperate and we will only ever cooperate with local suppliers of the equipment. And we signed our first lease contracts in the end of 2018, which was great. Next slide, please. So the business is really simple. We want to provide a finance lease, and I'll tell you exactly what that is just in a few minutes, just in case some of you don't actually know what a finance lease is. And we provide finance leases to creditworthy small-scale farmers in Zambia. Creditworthiness is a relatively simple concept in theory, which is that you have to assess the applicant or the farmer's ability to repay, and then his willingness to repay. So his ability to repay really is based on the fact, can he generate enough cash flow in the future to make the repayments to our leasing company? And the willingness to repay is really his character. Is he of the type of mindset that means that he takes his financial commitments, or she takes our financial commitments seriously? I say she because I think at the present moment, more than 50% of our customers are actually women farmers in Zambia. We adopted a very specific technique, which was before we started to offer our services in a particular district, we spoke to the chiefs, so the chieftainesses, and the headsmen in those districts, and we told them who we were and what we were going to do and how we would benefit their chiefdom. And that any applicant from any farmer in their chiefdom had to be approved by them. And that was very serious business. And our approach was met almost without exception with a huge amount of popularity. And also to a degree, gratitude as well, that the chiefs and the chieftainesses told us that usually what happened in their experience was that companies only came to them when they had a problem. So we were going at the beginning and almost saying, is it okay for us to come into your chiefdom? We want to, but if you say no, then of course we won't because you're in charge. Can I have the next slide, please? So we gather information, and it's quite a lot of information on the farmers. They do not have financial information. Small-scale farmers in Zambia do not produce the kind of financial information that banks would like to look at, like profit and loss accounts, trading accounts, balance sheets. But we do collect a lot of information about the farm and the farmer himself or herself. And if we approve the farmer, then they must give us a down payment. A down payment is an upfront payment on a lease. We never finance 100% of the value of the equipment because that would just be a disaster for the leasing company. So the farmer has to give us a down payment, which is a percentage of the cost of the equipment. And that varies between 25 and 40%. Once we get the down payment from the farmer, then we can sign a finance lease contract. Now, the equipment is chosen by the farmer. We don't choose the equipment. The farmer can decide that he or she wants to buy specific equipment from a specific supplier. And as long as we have an agreement with that supplier and we think that the equipment is appropriate for the farmer and that the farmer can afford to repay, then we will finance it. We do not choose the equipment, nor do we recommend equipment. We tell the farmer what we think, which is that perhaps a two-wheel tractor or a four-wheel tractor and a sprayer would be good for them, but that's it. We don't recommend the brand, we don't recommend the supplier, because that's not what we do. Next slide, please. So for anybody that's listening to this webinar or watching it that doesn't fully understand what a finance lease is, this is a quick slide about finance leasing. It's what it says that it separates the legal ownership from the economic ownership. We as a leasing company are the legal owners of the equipment, and we get that legal ownership through receiving an invoice from the farmer, from the supplier. And the invoice therefore passes the ownership or the title from the supplier to us, so we own it. The farmer then signs a finance lease contract with us, and the finance lease contract states quite clearly that the farmer has to make these repayments over this period of time. And during that period of time, as long as those payments are made on time, then the farmer is has the benefit of the use of the equipment and the possession of the equipment on his or her own farm for the whole duration of the lease contract. Once the farmer has made all of the payments, and that would be over a period of 24 to 48 months, at the end of that time, the ownership of the equipment is then the farmer's. So there's an automatic transfer of legal ownership. And of course, the equipment has a value at the end of that time. So although the farmer has paid 100% of the value of the equipment during the 2 to 4 years, the equipment then still has a value. It will be worth a percentage of the original value. So effectively, it's an asset for that farmer at the end of that time. So that's simple finance lease. And I think a lot of people get confused about it. They think a finance lease is like a rental agreement, like a Hertz or a Sixt car hire, where you go and you take equipment and then you give it back. No, that's not what a finance lease is. Next slide, please. Hello. Can I have the next slide? Thank you. So what do we offer then? We are a financial leasing company that is a company that's focused on making a profit. We are not an NGO and we're not an aid organization. We are a finance leasing company. And the reason for making profit from the business that we do is that we don't distort the market. We don't compete with banks or with other existing financial institutions by just giving money to people, because then there's no respect. That's aid. And also the money that's repaid to us, we then use again to purchase new assets for new farmers, for new contracts. So it regenerates itself. What we then end up with is a sustainable business that should last forever. Aglisco was never intended to be a program. It was always intended to be a sustainable business that would last and last forever. So we offer, although we are a company focused on making a profit, we do have a socio-economic side to our business as well, which we can afford to do because of the source of our funding. And one of those things that we do is that we offer the farmers a local currency lease, and the repayments are in the local currency, which means that in a country like Zambia, which has got a depreciating currency, we take the foreign exchange risk, we take the exposure, and not the farmer. So on day one, the farmer signs a contract with us that states exactly how much they're going to pay over exactly an amount of period of time, and that's exactly how much they pay. And unfortunately, since we started the business, the foreign exchange rate has dropped from just under 10 to over 20 local currency kwacha to the dollar, and we've had to take those hits. We don't charge any fees. One of the things that some farmers said to us was they were frightened of banks because banks charge fees and they don't understand them. We offer a fixed interest rate. We don't have a variable interest rate. And at the end of the lease, as I said, we transfer the ownership to the farmer. It's very simple. And we wanted to keep the offer simple because the farmers that we work with are not sophisticated. They haven't had much experience of financial transactions. So our field team explained to them exactly what is happening. They explain every single word and every single term and every single condition to the farmers. So the farmers are left in no doubt exactly what they are committing themselves to. Next slide, please.
And Stewart, if you can please bring your presentation slowly to an end, please.
Yeah, sure. Right, I'll finish there then. Okay, there you go. That's who we are. Okay, Mark.
Okay, yeah, Stewart, thank you very much for sharing that with us. I think before your presentation, there was indeed a question which was asking about the kind of financial support that is provided to the farmers to be able to access these mechanization services. And I believe the finance lease arrangements that you have just taken us through at least addresses partly some of those issues which were raised. Thank you. I'm sure there will be questions coming on that. But now I would like to go to Dr. Birungi Korutaro, who is the CEO of Kilimo Trust from Uganda. And she will be telling us about promoting agricultural mechanization along the food value chain in East Africa. So please let us have the presentation of Dr. Birungi Korutaro, please. Do we have that?
Thank you very much, and good morning, good afternoon to everyone. I don't know whether, Joseph, you've made me a host so that I can just project it on my side.
Yes, please,
yeah,
you
I think
can share.
you can share, yeah.
I can share, okay.
Yeah.
Hello? Hello, do we have that presentation from Kilimo Trust Uganda?
Can you hear me?
Yes,
yes, we can hear you, but we are not seeing your screen yet.
Shoot.
Oh, okay.
Do you want us to share it from here? We can do it.
I'm not too sure. You can, just a second. All right, you project it then.
Okay. Priscilla, you want to project it?
Initially to be done.
Priscilla, are you sharing it or you want me to share it?
Joseph, I'll be sharing it. I'll be sharing it.
Okay. All right. Good.
Okay, so while Priscilla is sharing it, I will introduce myself. I'm Birungi Kortaro. I'm the CEO of Kilimo Trust. And Kilimo Trust is a regional organization. It's an NGO supporting market-led agricultural development in East Africa. We support farmers, traders, and processors to access markets, regional food markets, and we were established in 2005, initially as a grant maker. But now we are doing direct implementation for a period of 10 years. And we see agribusiness as a tool for transforming lives. Partnerships are core to the work that we do. And we see our work in developing and structuring value chains in East Africa. We have worked in
Mark, we can't
yes,
hear
you
Dr.
can
Birungi.
proceed. You can project it, and on the third slide, I was saying we have we have been working in 14 value chain in East Africa, and food value chains in East Africa. That is slide number 3. You could just project it.
Priscilla, can we have slide number 3, please?
Yeah, Priscilla, please click enable editing to be able to do slideshow. On top, there is enable editing, then you can do slideshow.
Yeah. Priscilla, on the screen,
so 14 value chains
almost at the middle, we have enable editing. At the top, with the line that is in yellow, there is a white box that says enable editing. If you click it, then we'll be able to show the slides.
Thank you very much. So you can move to the third slide. And we do 3 core services that we offer. I'm still talking about Kilimo Trust. We offer market and value chain studies or analytics, and have done about 75 of those since our inception. We offer market linkages, business to business and farmer to business linkages, but also building capacity of value chain actors in East Africa. So can we move to slide number 4, please? So looking at the business models that I will be talking about, promoting sustainable agricultural mechanization along the food value chains in East Africa. And I'm going to share Kilimo Trust's experience. Thank you. So I'm on that slide now. Thank you very much. And Kilimo Trust's experience on mechanization business models that we have used. We have seen the public sector model in which our farmer groups are given equipment for free. and those that cooperatives and farmer groups are given through public-private partnerships, equipment and value for production and value addition through a very small cost share arrangement. And we have found the equipment management is challenging, and because of group ownership and decision making, effective utilization of that equipment is very poor. In some instances, utilization of the value addition mills that have been provided is about 5%. For those that we have found private sector, we have seen those large companies, large farmers that are heavily invested in the food value chains. And they offer mechanization equipment to medium-sized farmers and large farmers, and to some extent the smallholder farmers. And we found this one to be sustainable because we find that the large equipment providers are heavily invested in those value chains. But we also in East Africa have the individual operators. You find a gentleman sees the business opportunity, has a tractor, and is offering services to whoever comes along in the community. These are efficient, but they are few, and they have limited services that they offer. And so it is, we found it not to be sustainable. The last one that we find to be extremely sustainable in terms of supporting the smallholder farmers is what we find and what we call the village agripreneurs or the village agents that offer small equipment and tools that are smallholder friendly, affordable, and have a huge outreach. But most important of all, they provide multiple services. And what is key to these business models being sustainable, that is the village agent model and the large mechanization service provider model, is that we find that they offer sustainable business partnerships to the value chain actors. We also have found that identifying champions, business champions in those value chains is critical for sustainability. So we don't just work with anyone or everyone, but we identify champions, and those are the ones that are able to mobilize the rest of the farmers in the communities to adopt mechanization practices. However, we have found some of the challenges. There are conflicting approaches on the ground. Civil society organizations and development partners and other stakeholders promote different approaches. Some farmers are given equipment for free, others there's a business imperative and an investment required. And so as a result, there are conflicting approaches that are on the ground. To the next slide. I just want to show you an image of some of the equipment that we have been found with our smallholder farmers in the community. The previous slide, please. Yes, that one. You can see on the tractor, the tire is right at to my right hand side. This is a tractor that was given to a farmer group for 2 years. That is its state and condition. There on the left-hand side is a mill, a rice mill that had been given to a farmer cooperative, and you can see its condition. It's utilized about less than 5% and had been with the cooperative for 5 years. So some of these are the kind of cooperatives we are working with and helping them to see the commercialization of agriculture by fully utilizing some of this equipment that they have. Next slide, please. But for it to be sustainable, those involved in the provision of mechanization should see the business case and offer multiple services. And I'll focus mainly on those that offer village services to the smallholder farmers, because these are the majority that we work with. And the business, once the business opportunity is clear for the village agents, who are mainly youth, and those that offer multiple services, we found them to be making a sustainable enterprise in the different value chains. So for instance, we found those that are doing land opening, mechanization services are also involved in digital profiling, soil testing, crop insurance, and crop inspection services. those at production level, those that are doing planting, weeding, and spraying services, also do extension services and the sale of agro inputs. And those that are operating in harvesting and post-harvest level of the value chains, providing harvesting services, threshing, as well as drying and growing services. But these village agents also offer marketing services, as the market provides the primary pool, and they offer bulking and aggregation services, banking, digital finance, and some of the sell some of the finished non-agricultural products. And so for what we have found with the youth agripreneurs is that with the multiple provision of services, they're able to smoothen out incomes and are able to be sustainable in the value chains that they're operating. Next slide, please. I think so some of those are that equipment that we have been using in the different communities, in the different countries in East Africa. The tractors, planters, multi-crop planters that are mainly in Uganda, in Rwanda, and in Tanzania. The rice weeders that we have seen huge adoption in Uganda and in Tanzania and Rwanda. The electric sprays, spray provisions that are being used by the youth for coffee there, mainly in Uganda, and now increasingly getting traction in Kenya. Next slide, please. The other, the rice cutter that is being used and that has been adopted by rice farmers in Tanzania and in Rwanda, including the rice threshers, and the mechanical dryers for grain that has been used mainly in Uganda. Next slide, please. We also have technologies that have been used for post-harvest handling, the multi-crop threshers that have been developed in Rwanda. These ones have gained a lot of traction in Rwanda only. And also you can see the lady seated on a mobile bin thresher that has a mobile irrigation pump. This is a typical village agent offering multiple services in the community. Next slide, please. And that one is a large combined harvester. We see this in Kenya and in Uganda and parts of Tanzania offering these services, including the others that I just mentioned earlier to the smallholder farmers in the outgrower schemes in those communities. Next slide, please. So, what we have found is that mechanization service provision is profitable, especially when we are looking at the smallholder farmers and the youth and village agripreneurs. If we look at the type of equipment here and the average income that the youth agripreneur would be able to earn per bag, we see that the grain mechanical dryer offers about $1.25 per bag and employs about 2 or 3 people, the operator and 2 handlers. On average, it's about 4 people per machine that are employed gainfully in the mechanization service provision in the value chains that we're operating in. And so what is the role of Kilimo Trust in all this? Kilimo Trust has been building capacity of equipment operators and village agents, mainly in business and entrepreneur skills. But also we have found that building the capacity of the equipment operators on repair and maintenance in collaboration with the equipment suppliers and the local fabricators is key, and we're doing that as well. Key to the success of having mechanization in the value chains, especially with the smallholder farmers, is the market linkages that we create between the local fabricators, other providers of technology services, and the smallholder farmers. These fabricators have now a huge market of smallholder farmers that are working in groups that are willing to buy equipment from them. And we at Kilimo Trust, it must be a business imperative. And so we are promoting a 50% cost sharing arrangement to bridge the gap in financing. Yeah, next slide, please.
And Birunji, if please kindly bring the presentation to a close quickly. We are a bit behind time.
Sure. I'm just on almost about to end. So I
Okay.
just wanted to give an example of some of the large mechanization companies that we're working with. So in Tanzania, Mamboleo Farm is working with about 7,000 smallholder farmers in the refugee district, and is offering quite a number of services in addition to the combined harvesters. The farm leveling is being done, weeding using push weeders and threshers, and also water pumps are being used to improve water management practices among the smallholder farmers. The next one is another example, next slide please, of a young gentleman that has been involved in farming in the farming communities in Uganda. And he has been, noticed that farmers were struggling with drying. So he bought a sheller, embarked on shelling of maize for farmers, and he later realized that he wasn't making money because of the fuel and transporting costs of the sheller. So what did he do? He started working with youth as agents, and he'd shell a bag for $1, give a commission of $15 per bag to each agent, and to mobilize farmers at a selling point. They started earning about $30 a day from shelling services and about $1,260 per season. Cemex, as you can see there, now employs 19 youth as agents, operates 3 input outlets, about an $8,200 investment, is living in his own house, and is paying for his own education now at a university. And the last one you can see is, the next slide is farm training that we have offered to fabricators that in Rwanda, again, what I mentioned, building the capacity of the fabricators in improving the quality of the products they're using to improve efficiency on post-harvest handling in the value chain. So the last slide. So what have we learned from all this? Is that the financing mechanism for technology acquisition and equipment is key. The large service providers can access financing easily, but the smaller ones and the individual sole proprietors are struggling. And we have to be innovative in the kind of financing mechanism that we provide. Building capacity has already been mentioned of the local equipment fabricators, but also of the users is very key in ensuring that sustainability of mechanization in the value chains. We've also seen that mechanization is a powerful tool in attracting youth in the food value chains because it guarantees quick returns, and also partnerships are key. Harmonizing of approaches for mechanization is key to ensuring that there's sustainability on the ground. But lastly, and our experience is that supporting government officials to also understand the viability of mechanization is also important for the sustainability of agricultural mechanizations in these value chains. And when we talk about government officials, we're not just talking about the Ministry of Agriculture, it's trade, it's local government. So over to you, Mark. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Birunji. It's also good to see you again. I see that Kilimo Trust is working very well in different aspects. We last discussed the public-private partnerships, and I see a bit of that also with respect to agricultural mechanization. So thank you very much for that presentation, Asante Sana. We are a bit behind time, so I will open it now for perhaps 2 comments or questions for both Stewart's and Birunji's presentations. So we will have time for just 2 comments or questions, please. Quick ones. Martha, your hand is up. Is it from the previous session or it's for this one? Martha,
yes, it is from the previous one. Just a quick one I wanted to share.
Okay, please go ahead.
Yeah, I want to thank the host for organizing this. It has been very inspiring for me. And I wanted to say that I am from Uganda, in the part of Karamoja. Most of us would have known Karamoja. I am working with farmer groups, and we are implementing a food security program livelihood program. And mainly we were gearing it to increase food production. And how do we do this? We do it by providing small grants to the groups so that they can be able to provide oxen, to buy oxen and other implements to support increased farming. But we also realized that it is not enough to provide oxen, and it cannot help them produce, more food. So we partnered with some of the companies who are bringing tractors, and they were able to open. But one thing we realized with this approach is that we needed some centralized, tractor system in the area, because when you put it as far as outside Karamoja, I don't know whether I'm being heard. Am I?
Yes, I can hear you. Please go ahead and please be brief.
Okay, so we realized that the challenge is that the tractors coming are from outside the region. And so by the time we arrange the partner to come, you find that time has been lost. So my question would be, in this arrangement of this framework, would there be a possibility of having some centers at least established in areas like these regions of Karamoja? You know very well how it is not easy to access these centers. That is one of them. The other question I wanted to find out was the question of the mindset change. How is it addressed in this framework? Because we realized that in our first year, second year, third year, fourth year, we opened what we call block farms. But after the funding of first year, the farmers will disintegrate and they would not even come back. So I wanted to understand how can we make sure that they address the issue of mindset is instituted in them. I am actually working with a government program, which is ending next year in June. So we are worried that if we do not invest in mindset change, even through this new framework, we will certainly not sustain the interventions.
Hello,
and, hello.
All right.
Botswana. Hello.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Do you hear me?
Yes,
Okay,
we do.
Thank you very much, Martha.
Hello.
Thank you very much, Martha, for your points. We heard the issues you raised quite clearly. One, I think you were asking about mechanization centers. You were asking about mechanization centers and how that can be facilitated so that farmers can easily have access to the mechanization services. And your second issue had to do with mindset change from the perspectives of the users of these services. So I think that is what I got from your input. Thank you for sharing that from Uganda. I have to say that the presentations from both Stewart and Birungi were really, in fact, these are the things we want to see. These are arrangements which directly promote access to agricultural mechanization. Stewart talked about finance leasing arrangements, identifying farmers who are creditworthy, who will be able to access these services and will be able to pay back after they have received these services. And these are practical issues. And also when we heard what Birungi said, and also the issues that she identified, she also touched on the financing aspect. She touched on capacity requirements, which enable them to access and use these services, and many other issues. So these are really the key issues that are important, and it's good to learn how different entities are addressing them. So we've heard from Zambia, we've heard from Uganda, and I'm sure as we proceed, we will be hearing more from other countries and organizations as well. Stewart and Birungi, do you have quick comments to what Martha said or any other issue that you want to quickly touch on? Then we'll proceed to the next presentation, please.
No, I'm okay, thanks.
Thank you. Stewart, Birungi?
I just would like to add, for us on the issue of mindset, it is key that we from the onset, right from the beginning, is that the business case is clear, so that the value chain actors understand where the business, where the profit and the money is. And most of the times when they get to understand how that fits in within the big picture, then there is a huge shift in the way they do their investments and the way they operate. But also what has helped us, and because we are a regional organization, we do a lot of cross-learning. So we take farmers, processors, traders, fabricators from Rwanda to Kenya for them to understand what is happening in the different countries and learn from each other. So peer-to-peer learning is also key in changing mindset of the value chain actors.
Thank you very much, Virunji, for that. Let me give the opportunity to Kitongo. Kitongo, I see your hand. Please, briefly, what is your contribution?
Thank you very much. I want to give a submission into the last two presentations. Finance is key and the other elements, but there is one element that is the how is it linked to the agricultural production itself. This is because mechanization per se is just an input in production. So even if we have all the other elements that the framework is really greatly addressing, if we don't have the realization that it's an input and that any intervention in mechanization or any strategy should be greatly linked to the actual production itself, because it gives an incentive for either a smallholder farmer or a medium scale farmer or a commercial to invest. And also even in the agricultural production itself, what are those value chains or commodity chains that have high value with potential to repay the investment cost? So there are lots of things that need to be considered beyond the actual mechanization space itself. So I would end my submission by saying that could possibly the solution to increasing access to mechanization be lying outside, and that would mean using the agricultural space as a pull factor. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Kitongo, for that input. I think it's a very important point you made, and I also see it as linked to what Virunji said, related to pointing out how increased use of agricultural mechanization impacts on profitability. So where is the money? Where is the money coming from? So it's the input output. If I spend resources in accessing agricultural mechanization, how does it affect my production if we relate it to the production segment of the value chain? How does it affect it in terms of productivity, in terms of profit that I make? And once that is established and made clear, then I think that will be an important pull factor. So thank you very much for that point. So at this point, thank you again for those presentations. And now we will move to the next presentation, which is on Africa Mechanized Knowledge Platform. The African Mechanized Knowledge Platform, and we will have that presentation from Engineer Saidi Nkomwa, who is from the Africa Conservation Tillage Network. Please.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Mark, and thanks to the co-organizers. My name is Saidi Nkomwa. I work with the African Conservation Tillage Network, ACT, as the CEO. The presentation is on the sustainable agricultural mechanization knowledge management, information sharing, and platform. And as we have just heard, it is being justified by the element 10 of SAMA to build the African institutions, partnerships, and also networking. However, in addition, knowledge management is also cross-cutting, supporting and interlinking the other elements. Now, the framework, the platform itself, the Africa Mechanized Platform, is a sustainable agricultural mechanization. It aims at enhancing knowledge management, information sharing, and partnership, as I said, and it's developed under the African Union summer framework, with the FOU providing the technical support, and the AUC, the ACT providing the secretarial functions. It is, as I said earlier, focused on contributing to operationalization of all the elements of the summer, given the cross-cutting nature of knowledge management. And it's also an inclusive, not-for-profit platform, trying to address the interests of all the development partners, the member states, national governments, development partners, and the private sector, like what we are having today. The genesis, in terms of a few steps back, in 2016, a mechanization meeting was held in Nairobi to talk about strategies or new models for sustainable agricultural mechanization in the continent. And the meeting decided, amongst other things, on the need for formation of a virtual knowledge exchange platform. And the ACT was asked to initiate that platform. So what we are seeing today, which you basically haven't seen the content of the platform, but what we are seeing today is some well-developed drafts of what we think this platform should do. And this avenue is for you to contribute, to share your thoughts on how exactly we develop this platform together, so that eventually it caters for our interests in developing in knowledge management and information sharing on sustainable agricultural mechanization in the continent. There are four key elements, and I'll go through them. One of them is the knowledge hub, the capacity building, partnerships, and networking. The third is the magazine and the journal. And the fourth one is on technical assistance. Now, the proposed knowledge hub is, we're looking at the first point of reference, providing at no cost and instantly information. We are looking at this platform to be like the first reference point for anybody wanting information on sustainable agricultural mechanization. This platform should provide that. Some of the elements is an e-resource, basically an electronic repository. We are looking at, and these repositories will be contributed by the AU member states, as I said, and other stakeholders. It should contribute to new knowledge, basically by being an avenue to share, to exchange new materials and new information. But we're also looking at it as having a newsroom with events where people can share the events they are planning to hold, publicize, and also becoming another avenue for sharing. The second equally important element is on capacity building. And in here, we are looking again at conducting learning using the electronic media for students, for farmers, service providers, and all other such stakeholders. But we're also looking at establishing a network of centers of excellence, a network in partnerships with best practicing organizations. These are institutions specializing in sustainable agricultural mechanization, which will preferably be certified by the network stakeholders. We are looking at mechanization service providers, mechanization service provider cooperatives to do the quality assurance. This is the peer-to-peer quality assurance, not necessarily external. We're also looking at training toolbox where different challenges can be answered by people going into the toolbox and looking back how other similar partners have resolved, they have solved budgeting challenges. We're also looking at enhancing networking by engaging through engaging stakeholders through the different communities of practice. And here we are looking at communities of practice of service providers, of manufacturers, of the researchers and the academia, farm organizations, and women and youth. We are looking at the platform providing avenues for webinars and also information sharing. And we intend to use this platform to conduct webinars like this. And as I said, the repository of these materials and others, and once we launch the website, you'll see, will provide resources so that we don't reinvent the wheel. Professor Mrema was very clear that a lot has been done, but the newcomers into the picture are not informed of that. There is no central place they can quickly go retrieve issues to what answering to their questions. The magazine and the journal is the third component to inform stakeholders on current trends, innovations within the industry, but also encourage networking from amongst the different communities of practice, as we mentioned, offer opportunities for collaboration and partnerships, but also look at the state of the art. What are the policymakers looking for, and how can research generate the needed information for decision making, for informed decision making at that level. Of course, it will be an avenue for the vast work being done by our universities to be shared amongst the such communities. It will be on a quarterly basis, published both in print and digital. Initially in English and French. Of course, we are looking at the first quarter of next year for the launch. Of course, it will be free of charge, as I said. Being edited by experts from within the continent and outside with an editorial committee. The last strategic ingredient of this framework is the technical assistance cornerstone, if I can say. And this one aims to harness the African and external expertise for strengthening the institutional, organizational, and technical capacities of stakeholders in the continent. We have a lot of capacities. This corner, this element aspires to have a one-stop shop where you can find expertise on mechanization across the different sectors of mechanization to provide the continued sustainable backstopping. This is not going to be a one-shot intervention, but also to constitute a panel of experts who can advise the journey on how we are handling mechanization in the continent. We can draw experience from the African expertise to advise on strategies and solution development. And it has been alluded that since 2005, formal data collection in the continent on mechanization is no longer happening. We hope to contribute to that, since we are working with the all African national governments. This platform can be used to support what the FAO is doing by collecting preliminary data, disaggregate it by country, so that it can be used for the planning purposes, for monitoring and evaluation, even to look back 10 years from now. Are we on track? How are we faring as an institution? I think Mark has explained this journey, so I don't need to go through it again. The last but one slide is a call to action to you partners. The journey to realize this framework requires all categories of stakeholders, as clearly outlined in the 10 elements of the summer. So we welcome all to share your views, your experiences in this participatory platform on how Africa should jointly create the enabling environment for farm organizations, for NGOs and the private sector, so that we can strengthen, we can have a successful rollout of the summer at country and regional levels. And lastly, we are looking forward to further interactions in 2021 and beyond, when we expect to formally open up this framework to a lot of you. And in the meanwhile, we are looking forward to any suggestions you might have, any information you feel must be there in the platform, so that when the platform is launched, it should serve your purposes. It should be your platform. Mark, I thank you very much. I thank the listeners very much. Back to you, Mark. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Saidi, for that presentation on the African Mechanized Knowledge Platform, soon to be launched. And I think it is in the comments that I've seen issues about networking, knowledge sharing, and what you have outlined clearly speaks to that request. So it will be interesting to follow going forward how this develops and how that provides that space for exchange. I mean, what we are hearing from the different countries are things that need to be further disseminated, so others can also learn from that. Thank you very much. I would like to encourage you, please, to put your comments and questions in the chat. Joseph has informed us that responses to those questions will be made available to all of you after this webinar. So please be encouraged to put your comments and questions. We will look at them and try to provide responses to them and share with you subsequently. So because of again, the time constraints, allow me to proceed to the next presentation, which is by Joseph Kingsley. And that presentation is on joining hands to achieve a mechanized agriculture in Africa. So can we have that presentation? And Joseph, if you're ready, please take it up.
Yes, thank you, Mark. Good afternoon, everybody. I'm happy to be part of this webinar. And my role is to be a little bit forward-looking, to move on from the F-summer to, I mean, more or less simply what has been already said, into a maybe more programmatic approach. And I'm very pleased. I mean, the Africa Mechanized platform that was just presented is a very important brickstone in this, because it will be the platform for information sharing and for asking for assistance and for other services that can be provided online. And we will use, from FAO point of view, we partnering up with both African Union Commission and the African Conservation Tillage Network in making this platform a living platform. So from our side, we had discussed this in our teams internally, and we, as I mentioned, the vision is to have a program for SAMA to implement the framework, because the framework is okay. We have the 10 elements, and all of them have their own life, and we have seen some examples today on the finance and on promoting of mechanization services. This is more or less can be part of a program for SAMA, a P-SAMA. The overall impact that we hope to achieve is to contribute to reduce hunger and enhancing income of farmers, agro-entrepreneurs, and other stakeholders along the food value chain, in particular women and youth. The development objective would be the main goal to improve the access and uptake of sustainable mechanization and technologies and innovations along the value chain for enhanced agricultural productivity among small and medium scale farmers. We want to tackle both SDG 1 and 2. I mean, there are a few others among the 15, but in the end of the day, we have to tackle 1 and 2 to get the others also in order. And that's more or less the main intention of this programmatic approach to SAMA. We have identified 6 specific objectives. Number 1 is really to have evidence-based mechanization policies and strategies at national level, because we realize the issues are country level issues. So we need to break the policy and strategy debate down to develop a conducive mechanization policy and strategy at each country level, to create that enabling environment for the actors like the private sector, the NGOs, the finance institutions to do their part. Secondly, we want to develop capacity of sustainable agricultural mechanization stakeholders, and also including digital, making use of digital services and call services and so on. And that's another very important part of the P-SAMA in this case. We want to promote innovations for sustainable agricultural practices to leverage, including ICT and digitalization, to accelerate access of mechanization services. I think with ICT, it's possible to have more timely and more easy access to mechanization services. And we have some good examples already in various countries. We want to promote business models and access increased investments to sustainable agricultural mechanization and job creation. Job creation is a very important point. Mechanization, specifically the field mechanization, is often under fire for displacing labor, but we know out of experience from our research that the jobs will be created along the value chain and in the services sector, and maybe in capacity building sector. So it's a shift of jobs from unpaid heavy labor that is often family labor or maybe labor done by the youth to rewarding labor and paid labor, and that's must be the intention, specifically when we look at the youth. We want to create regional entities and foster collaborations, partnerships and synergies for enhanced standards, trade and use of sustainable mechanization technologies and innovations. And specifically, we need a common approach to quality standards for machinery, not to the least also for operator safety, which should be in the forefront of everything else. I mean, it's important that machinery is also safe in use to have to protect the operators as well. The main partners beside from FAO, we have, of course, we work with the African Union Commission and with the African Conservation Tillage Network, among many other partners, specifically also CGIAR centers. We have to name, we're naming CIMMYT and Africa Rice here for the African continent. We want to work with the private sector agricultural machinery industry at all levels, from the large-scale suppliers and down to frontline dealers and retailers, including small repair shops, maybe blacksmiths that have been part of this for a long time. We really welcome the private sector to support the SAMA and specifically the P-SAMA initiative. And FAO is currently reopening a new private sector strategy to make it a little bit easier to work with private sector partners as a UN organization. The summer program will also closely link with the hand-in-hand initiative of FAO, and it will focus specifically also on the newly developed dryland programs on sustainable agriculture in drylands. This is, of course, for the countries in the dryland zones in Africa, the Sahel, and parts of Southern and Eastern Africa. The main beneficiaries of this peace summer will be the smallholder and medium-scale farmers, including women and youth, the private sector, including small-scale mechanization service providers along the value chain, and of course also all government the departments of mechanization, the mechanization directorates, and in the ministries of agriculture and ministries of industries. These are important partners of this. And on the process, we will have to start with baseline and diagnostic surveys to understand the socioeconomic scenarios on the ground, to understand in which context the smallholders are operating and what is possible. And then we have to look for mechanization-related businesses to develop. They have to be related to market-oriented farming for crops and products in demand. We need to have higher mechanization, higher services and business related to it, including ICT-based businesses. We need post-harvest processing and transport-related businesses, possibly also related to ICT technology. And then, of course, the wholesale equipment dealers and spare parts supply chain networks, they are absolutely essential to make machinery lasting for longer than a few months or so. From the scope, we think of about involving approximately 10 countries in Anglophone and maybe a little bit less in Francophone Africa. We thought of about $5 million per country. And we hope we can have a total of maybe a 6-year duration, maybe in 2 phases, depending on donors, on the donors' requirement. And our target for this program would be that in all participating countries, we have reviewed and aligned mechanization policies and strategies aligned with the SAMA framework. We have the numbers of SME operating in mechanization services along the value chain and substantially increased. And we have a prosperous networking and maybe a center for sustainable mechanization and for overseeing the operationalization of the SAMA framework. That's our program target. And with that, I want to, with my last slide, also briefly look at what's actually already ongoing. We have the SAMA webinars, and this is one of them. We are preparing for rolling out the updates of the mechanization strategy reviews in Mali, Sierra Leone, and Tanzania right at the moment, with support of FAO. We will collaborate with CIMMYT specifically on research in standardized testing and certification of agricultural machinery. And this could be the nucleus for at least East Africa regional approach, or maybe a SAMA, part of the SAMA framework to have a continent-wide standardized approach to agricultural machinery and equipment. And that's really a long-term vision, and maybe this program could be, this Ethiopian initiative could be the beginning of such a long-term initiative. We know that the AFDB is supporting no-till conservation agriculture initiatives in Uganda, Ghana, Guinea, and Sierra Leone, and we are very happy to see that, and we see how we can outscale that to other countries. We have supported both the African Conservation Tillage Network and the University of Nasiboni in Burkina Faso in conducting either online or physical training for mechanization hire service providers, and this should continue in the following year. We have taken up internally in FAO to discuss with our colleagues from statistics to relaunch an updated methodology for agricultural machinery data, and we hope this can be put into action next year to contact the countries. And here we may also link up with the ACT platform, the Africa Mechanized, to see how we can help each other to get a consistent data set for all countries and not data sets that differ from each other. This is an important part. We will start digitizing the FAO and CIMMYT training material on mechanization hire services. This will become e-learning courses in the course of next year. And of course, we are consulting with potential partners to supporting the initiative of PSAMA. and having said that, we are still soliciting funding, and I mean that we don't have a concrete donor, so this is part of the advertising for summer and for the program for summer. And what we are doing here today and in future seminars is really to bring the topic of sustainable mechanization into the mindset of decision makers, specifically also of the financial institutions and the donors. And I think I'm very glad that this is rolling now. And with this, I'm at the end of my part. And thank you very much. And also our website, FAO Sustainable Agricultural Mechanization, for more information on the same topic. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Joseph, for showing us what is in P-Summer. So ladies and gentlemen, at the beginning, we said that you'll be hearing summer, Sustainable Agricultural Mechanization in Africa. And we preface that with F-Summer, which is the framework. And now Joseph has introduced another letter P, which is the program for sustainable agricultural mechanization in Africa. So we are moving from having a framework to having a program, which means we are getting more concrete. And the elements or the specific objectives that Joseph has highlighted in terms of reviewing the mechanization strategies, I think it has come up. I saw a comment from Abdullahi, which says we should support countries like Nigeria to do that. So that is in line. The point about building capacity, that has also come up in our discussion. Then the issue of promoting innovation, also using digital technologies to promote access to mechanization has also come up. I saw a comment there, someone referred the participant to Trotro Tractor, for example, which operates in Ghana, but we also have similar ones in Nigeria and other countries. So that is also very important. Then the issue of business models. We heard about the financing or finance lease arrangements as a business model which facilitates access to mechanization. And in the chat, I've seen that people are saying, hey, you are doing this in Zambia, why don't you look at Uganda and perhaps other countries as well? Similarly, for Kilimo Trust, what they are doing in Uganda, I see that people are saying come to Zambia because that model is very interesting. So it means that these models are definitely what we need and what we need to ensure that more and more countries are using similar models which facilitate access to mechanization services. Joseph also talked about the issue of regional centers of excellence, because we are looking at the whole continent. So regional centers of excellence which ensure that the services from agricultural mechanization are at a certain level is also important. Okay, so let me end here and see whether there are quick questions or comments for both Joseph and Saidi. Saidi on the Africa Mechanized Knowledge Platform and Joseph on the P-Summer. Do you have quick comments, questions for both of them? Let's see whether there is any hand up. I see one hand. Pascal, please go ahead. Pascal?
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes, please.
Maybe you can see me as well. I don't see myself.
But I can hear you. Please go ahead.
Okay. Thank you very much for this opportunity. Thank you all the speakers. Thank you thank you to all the commentators and so on. But what I wanted to say quickly is that I was part of the team that developed this program or developed this framework as a consultant for East Africa. And I'm a little concerned that we need to be very programmatic about involving the private sector. I happen to be privileged to have worked with all sectors, from academics to NGO to entrepreneurship now, and even in this mechanization service provision. In Kenya, we are working as AgriMech Africa Limited. We are linking up with Hello Tractor platform. We are looking at how to set up mechanization hubs to provide services to farmers. The point I wanted to make is, if I could talk for private sector, is talking for who? Whether it's Alvan Blanche, who I know are in this forum, whether it is AIBA in Ethiopia, Melese, whether it is Awilo in Morogoro. These are bodies that I've visited personally, and I know how much everybody in private sector is trying to make a move. When we set up the summer program, we all believed that it is actually going to be private sector driven. And I feel like as much as we have had the lovely presentations from AgriLease and even Kilimo Trust, I think there's a lot more out there. Maybe we need a union of private sector players in this forum. I'm not sure how Africa Mechanized is going to involve farmers directly. Or sorry, but I continue to feel like we are very research-oriented, data-oriented, but the practicalities on the ground, there is so much to learn in this continent. I went around with Agra looking at business models that are working across the continent. And I know there's a lot going on. And if we don't tap into these ones programmatically, we may miss very good opportunities of making private sector move the vehicle, much as the policies and all the other things are needed. We will network, we will do policies, but this is where we have been before. The missing link has been serious private sector interventions. In Kenya with Hello Tractor, we are trying and USADF, we are trying the pay-as-you-go system of owning tractors or machines, because we have tried with an asset leasing company, and they remain the same banking process. Agri-leasing is still talking about 40% from farmers, down before they will get the equipment. Asset leasing, in fact, does zero, before you get the equipment and all that. But still, they remain very bank-oriented. They still need a lot of approval process for farmers to really participate. I absolutely believe that mechanization in Africa should be based around mechanization service provision. There are models that are working across the continent. Let's focus on these. Let's see how to make them the drivers, or if this thing is going to move faster. I know, like many of you in this forum, I know we are very, very frustrated of how many years we have been talking about things and not necessarily making the real impact on the ground. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Pascal, for that input. You are very familiar with the process, so it is good to hear from you, highlighting the importance of engaging the private sector in a more programmatic manner, so that the different modules which are being implemented or spearheaded by the private sector can be brought about. Joseph, did I see that you wanted to react to that?
Very quickly, I mean, it was very valid points of Pascal, and it's important that we get these reminders and these concerns. But on the other hand, this framework is is strong, and we have put a lot of thoughts in it. And with such a framework as a backbone, we can develop the program now with a little bit more systematic approach, and also considering it's a continental initiative and not individual country pilots or so on. So I'm quite hopeful we can learn from all our experiences made in the last 20 years, and this time around get it right, and specifically also for the private sector led initiatives that we want to see. So that's all. Thank you.
Right, thank you. Saidi, I mean, how does the Africa Mechanized Knowledge Platform, how can it also facilitate this programmatic engagement with the private sector?
Thank you, and Mark, and also to my friend Pascal. What Africa Mechanized is doing is to put in the skeleton for encouraging sharing of ideas and thoughts. So we don't have a recipient on exactly how everything must go, but we want to use that avenue, the experiences in the continent, to jointly do exactly that. And I think that will be our biggest strength, having the experts in it. But there was another question which was raised in the chat, which maybe deserves, it was from Scott Justice, who is funding the platform. I think partly Joseph Kinzel has answered it. Currently is internal, but we are looking at how we support it. As we said, it's not an ACT platform. This is a continental platform with the African Union member states and stakeholders. So we are looking forward to how it gets funded, but still retain its neutrality. There was also another question from Solomon Musisi of, I think, Uganda, on he's happy to see the magazine and wondering if countries' interests can be captured in there. Again, the answer is we will have country pages in the website to share dedicated information for countries. And what is contained in there, we will jointly develop the indicators, the parameters, what should be contained in there. And the last question I saw in the chat was from another friend of mine, Maina Kariuki, that we need to embrace CA to make farming more profitable, and that is concerned on the loss of human resource. What I can say is maybe the different avenues of business entrepreneurship, the business models, might bring back these youths who are moving away from farming back into it as farming becomes more, less drudgery and more profitable. Those are the comments I wanted to share. Thanks.
Thank you very much, Saidi, for those responses to the issues and comments in the chat as well. Thank you. So I think at this point, I am very happy to see that the discussions really have focused on those models which are actually are in operation on the ground. I see that one comment is, one person is also inviting AgLisco to Ghana. So it's not only Zambia and Uganda, but you are also being invited to West Africa to bring that business model, because he believes that that will also work in this part of the region. So I think this is really rich, and going forward, there is a lot more that we can share through such engagements. And when the Africa Mechanized Knowledge Platform is officially launched, then it will even help to facilitate those exchanges even better. Okay, at this point, please allow me to invite Fenton Bede, who is from the FAO Plant Production and Protection Division, to give us the closing remarks. Fenton, please.
Thank you very much, Mark, and well done. It's never easy to moderate these virtual sessions with so many participants. Well done. And it's my privilege to provide some very brief closing remarks. So ladies and gentlemen, colleagues and friends, I firstly wish to appreciate the African Union Commission for collaborating with FAO and the African Conservation Tillage Network on this initiative. And as has been pointed out, this is to operationalize the framework for sustainable agriculture and mechanization in Africa into an active program. Obviously, for this session, I'd like to thank everybody who's participated. It's been very lively and insightful. I know it's been virtual, but it has been as interesting as could be, and I've been very appreciative of everyone who's contributed. And it's great to have contributions from farmers' organizations, essential to have contributions from the private sector, and also non-government organizations. And we appreciate the generous sharing of your experiences. It's exciting to see some of the commendable work that's been done, and thanks especially to AgLisco and Kilimo Trust. So as many of the speakers have attested, I cannot overemphasize the importance of sustainable agricultural mechanization in Africa. And as has been mentioned, we must avoid ad hoc approaches which have been practiced in the past. With only 5 years left to attain the zero hunger vision by 2025 of the African Union and 10 years to achieve the Sustainable Development Goals, particular attention to Sustainable Development Goal number 2, we actually need to really accelerate our mechanization efforts. And I think things have been made even clearer because of COVID-19. There is an active call for the need to mechanize. In this regard, we're very fortunate to have political support for the framework and then the program for sustainable agricultural mechanization in Africa, which is endorsed by the African Union Commission Specialized Technical Committee on Agriculture, Rural Development, Water and Environment in October 2017, and subsequently launched during the FAO Committee on Agriculture, COAG, in 2018. The framework is there, and as Joseph and others have said, now is the time to turn it into an active program. And it's up to us, collectively, to identify actionable steps for putting the framework into practice at national, regional, and continental levels. Maybe with your permission, I'll just say 3 things that I think need to be focused upon. First of all, mechanize the value chains. For Africa to achieve its full potential, we need to have a holistic approach to mechanization. It should not only focus on productivity and the elimination of persistent hunger and malnutrition in the continent, but it needs to be harnessed to promote value addition, food safety of agricultural produce. We need sustainability, which means we need to move beyond just commercial viability to include environmental sustainability, as well as social inclusion of different groups, and particularly women and youth. And we need to increase decent jobs. Secondly, adapt the framework for SAMA to your country context. And I think Kitongo made this very clear. There needs to be a link to national strategies. Given the unique characteristics of each country and the diverse needs of Africa, due to ecological heterogeneity and also different markets, wide range of farm sizes, operationalizing the framework needs to be adapted to the country context. Additionally, countries should not attempt to mechanize all commodities at the same time. There needs to be a focus on a few priority crop commodities that can be easily mechanized, and again, linked to national strategies. Thirdly, as Saidi said, join Africa Mechanize. Due to time constraints, we could only share information for a few countries today, but to keep the momentum of our discussions going and to facilitate further information exchange amongst ourselves, I'd like to encourage everybody to become part of Africa Mechanize. As has been explained, it's a virtual platform where we can interact with each other and share information with network members. This is important, as some aspects of mechanization will need regional, multi-country approaches, and there's also a periodic magazine where we can make it active and alive. So finally, in summary, ladies and gentlemen, colleagues and friends, this is the second of a series in English on the operationalization of sustainable agricultural mechanization in Africa. In parallel, there are webinars in French, and the third webinar will be in February 2021. So there's a variety of stakeholders to further discuss sustainable mechanization topic of contemporary interest for all. And I hear the different comments from different people. I see lead organizations, I see many different partners. It can only be achieved collectively. So I think these webinars are incredibly important to bring people together. So very finally, thanks once again for your participation in this forum. And you can count on FAO's technical support in putting into practice sustainable agricultural mechanization. So I wish you all a good lunch, a great day, and finally a fantastic festive period. Thank you very much. Back to you, Mark.
Thank you very much, Fenton, for closing us today. And I think your closing remarks actually very well summarizes the key issues which have come up in the presentation. And with that, I would like to announce that the workshop is closed. Thank you and have a nice day.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Mark.
Bye. Well done, Mark. Well done, everyone.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Bye-bye. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye. Bye.
Bye.
Bye, Joseph.
Bye-bye. Thank you. Bye-bye. Thank you.
Bye-bye. Thank you. It's all
Bye-bye.
good.
Thank you. Thank you. See you all in February again. Okay.